Hey everybody, happy Tuesday and happy 2019. I can't believe it's been so long since I've done a live, but thank you for joining me. I would love it if you would make a comment and just say hi so I know who's there. It always makes me feel a little happier. I see a few people are already on, so what I promised you today was Zen and the art of steel-cut oat cooking in your Instant Pot. Why do I even think that it might be Zen-like? If you go to, most of my Instant Pot recipes are at plant-basedinstantpot.com. However, before I started that blog, I had some recipes for your Instant Pot on healthy slow cooking. 2 of those are oatmeals. They are the biggest commented on posts that I've ever done. And it's either people saying they're perfect, they never cooked, they were soupy, they were dry. There are even people saying, how can there be so many conflicting comments on this recipe? Hi Kelly, it's good to see you. Happy New Year to you. And so here's the thing. It's not that steel-cut oats are hard to cook. It's that each of us have a different kind of hidden desire in our heart for the kind of steel-cut oats we want. So there's a range, right? So there's chewy on one side, and there's super creamy cooked down on the other side. I lean towards chewy on my Instant Pot steel-cut oats. So what I do is I cook them for 3 minutes, and I let it release the pressure naturally. And I do this no matter what kind of oats I might be cooking. If I'm experimenting with a different timing, if you don't like to do the natural pressure releaser to wait for it, you can cook it a little extra and get the same result, like maybe, I don't know, like 2 minutes, I think. So if you don't like your oats chewy, you may want to cook them longer. If you're used to cooking steel-cut oats in your slow cooker, they break down completely. So some people will say, that's gross, overcooked mush, and some people are like, hey, that's amazing. And so I like them both ways. When I'm cooking them in my Instant Pot, I do like them to be a little more chewy because I have that option. And in your slow cooker, if you're cooking them overnight, you don't really have that option. They're going to be cooked and they're going to be cooked down. So if you're used to that, you can even add some extra water or not. And I actually put on the intro to this on the Plant-Based Instant Pot Facebook page. There's a link to the blog post that I just put up about this. And there's a blogger, Amy and Jackie, and they actually cooked oats steel-cut oats 6 different ways. And I suggest that you go and see if any of those pictures kind of are close to what you want. Hey, Brandy, I'm going to show you my steel-cut oats. And so just so you know, too, so there's rolled oats, and we are not talking about rolled oats. I'm going to do a whole different thing on rolled oats because you can't really cook them the same. These are going to cook down super creamy and cook down much faster, even the kind that are regular rolled oats and not quick rolled oats, than steel-cut oats. Okay, and if you're in the UK, I believe they're called pinhead oats there. Let me give you I'll grab some of them. And so what steel-cut oats are is they're the oat groat that has been cut into 2 to 3 pieces. So they're actually cut with steel. That's how they get their name. So it's really close to an oat groat. An oat groat takes a long time to cook. And steel-cut oats really have a lot of good fiber and things in them. And most everybody can eat oats and likes oats. So let's look at this. So the pressure is released naturally. I started these probably, 20 minutes ago. And I take pictures of this in the blog post too. Because one of the comments I get is, oh my God, look, there's water over here and there's oats over there that don't look like they're cooked. So before you do anything and you decide if this is the right for you or not, stir it. Actually, let me get it. And as you stir it, it's going to incorporate. And see how it looks creamier? So that's the first thing that you need to do. Now, that doesn't mean that these oats are perfect for you. And I'm not trying to tell you what kind of oats that you should like. These are on the chewy side. And typically what I do, and also, I don't know if you can see all the steam coming out. Once we open up the oatmeal too, I don't know what just happened to that camera, but we will just ignore it for now. Yeah, and Brandy's saying the fiber in oatmeal is the soluble kind. And it's supposed to be good for your cholesterol, and it's filling, it's a whole grain. There's like a bunch of reasons. So, like I said, we may not have an overhead camera for the rest of this, but I don't think it's that important. So, you can kind of see. And then what I ask you to do, so if it looks, after you stir it, like there's more liquid than what you'd like, let's see if I can just turn it on. Yes. How it magically turned itself off. Oh, and I think it's going to do it again, isn't it? Yep. Okay. So enough about that. So then what I want you to do is kind of taste them. And what the recipe I'm doing is for 2 servings of oats. So you can kind of start here if you don't know what kind of oats you really like. And see, to me, these are not crunchy, but they are chewy. It is more reminiscent of maybe a brown rice, because it's got a little bit of toothsomeness. And so, so anyhow, I like them like this. And if you don't, what you could do at this point, what you should not do at this point, is to add some more water and try to pressure cook it again, because it's already so thick that it's not going to be able to come back up to pressure, and you're going to get the burn notice, which always makes me think about that TV show. Did anybody else watch the TV show Burn Notice? So, just know that I'm thinking that every time I say it. Maxie says hi. They're being really good. It's outside. They're outside, and it's kind of nice today. So what I would do, so what you're not going to do is pressure cook them more. What you can do is add more water, put it to saute, and to remember, when you're going from pressure cook or keep warm to saute, you have to cancel the program that it was doing. So canceling the keep warm, then go to saute. The same thing. After saute you're done, you're going to have to click on cancel, unless you go the whole few minutes. Now, if you're adding water to these, they're already thick, it's going to bubble up. If you can saute it on the low setting, that's going to be less messy, because it's going to kind of pop out a little bit. We were doing this last night with some refried beans that I added a little bit too much water to. And so then you can cook them down, and you just kind of keep tasting them until they're the way you like them. Now, once you've determined that, then you can go back next time and go, those were not cooked up enough for me. You could use the same recipe. Instead of cooking it for 3 minutes, you could cook it for 10 minutes. And if that, or anywhere in between. Jill Newsonow is the person that I learned my timing on oats from, and she's awesome. She's the veggie queen. You guys probably already know her. She's got a great cookbook, and she's just awesome. And we do a lot of stuff together. But I agree with Jill. We don't agree on all the cooking times, but I agree on this because it suits me. And so just try and remember, sometimes with recipes, it's not necessarily the recipe is wrong, as it's not the recipe for you. And I don't mean that in a mean way, because what we can do is like what we're talking about right now, which is adjusting a recipe so that it meets our personal needs. And that's one thing I talk to you guys a lot about, is if you want it spicier, you can do this. If you taste the soup before you serve it, it's very easy to know if it's not seasoned enough for you. That's why I always say salt and pepper to taste. I know some of you don't even eat salt. So that way you can make it for your own taste and happiness, really. And so I found it with this, particularly with this steel cut Instant Pot oats, to be just kind of a little over the top with some of the comments. And so I thought, let's just make some plain oats. Let's start from here. And what I'd love to know from you guys who are on now is, how long do you cook your steel cut oats for in the Instant Pot? Or have you just not made them there yet? And one thing that, and I'll dish some of this out so I can put it a little closer. It's kind of cool. A lot of times I do have recipes that already have flavors, like sweet flavors, involved in them. But this oatmeal for 2 people, which is on the blog, plantbasedinstantpot.com, it's going to be the first recipe at the top. You'll be able to click on it really easily. Is that with this, it's a blank canvas. And so what that means is that I could go sweet or savory with this. Okay, and Brandy said it's like garlic. Recipe says 2 cloves and I read 6. Yeah, I feel you that. And Kelly says 6 minutes is right for her. And I love the way that you put that. Brandy cooks for 4 minutes with a natural release. And I think some things, it's a little different than saying, you know, that casserole didn't set up. Or I think sometimes we put too much emphasis on the recipe and not enough emphasis on what we really want. And it's okay to change my recipes and to experiment with them. Now, along the way, you may go further than I did and it's not going to work. And that's okay too. Most things are still edible when you're experimenting. And if you're just learning how to cook vegan or plant-based or using your Instant Pot, I highly recommend soups as a great place to start, because you can't, cooking-wise, you can't really mess that up. So you're going to have a for sure dinner. Same thing with slow cooking, really. Soups and stews, to me, are the easiest to start off with because there's not going to be any burning. There's a chance for you to change the seasonings before you serve it. Typically, I don't over season things. I may under season it a little bit because Cheryl doesn't like spicy foods. So I might add some different things to my bowl and not to her bowl. And that's good to do when you have a family with kids too. And so back to this beautiful bowl of oats. So I have a half a cup of oats, steel cut oats, and then I have a cup and a half of water that I use. That water could be milk, obviously, like cashew milk, oat milk. The oat milk I've never used to cook oats, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. Soy milk, whatever non-dairy milk that you use. And that also helps it be creamier, especially something like coconut milk from a carton, like So Delicious coconut milk. I'm not talking about coconut milk in the can, which would make it creamy and delicious and a dessert. Because that would increase the calories and the fat a lot. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing, just know what you're picking. But from here, so I'm going to eat these today for lunch, and I could decide to put some cinnamon, a little maple syrup, some soy milk in there, maybe chop up some apples or put some dried fruit and nuts so I could go sweet. Or I have some stir fry from last night or from 2 nights ago, really. And I could just heat that up and serve it over this. Because even though we think of oats as just a breakfast food, it's a grain. And so it's not that much different than a polenta, which is a grain cooked into kind of a mush or a porridge. And so think about it that way too. I could also just go and steam some vegetables and put on top of that. I could put, like the cauliflower cheese sauce over it with some chopped cilantro and salsa, maybe some black beans and avocado if you wanted to. So there's this truly is a blank canvas for you to kind of start off with. And let me see, I'm trying to decide if it's cut me off or not. And I think it did not. Okay. Sorry, everything just went blank on my screen, so it made me nervous. So, what do you guys like to, do you only eat sweet oatmeal or do you eat savory oatmeal as well? And you guys probably, a lot of you know I have a cookbook called Outrageous Oatmeals, which is not all about oatmeal, but it's about using steel cut oats and oat groats and all the oats to make all the things, including like steel cut oat sausage crumbles for on top of a pizza or a salad. And so I really think oats are underused. They're inexpensive compared to a lot of other foods. They store easily, and I just would love to see you eat more of them. Okay, and Brandy said she wouldn't have thought to add veggies to oatmeal. Steel cut oats makes a really awesome risotto base. And so I think in Outrageous, and I think it's also on healthyslowcooking.com, I have a post for mushroom sun-dried tomato risotto made with steel cut oats. And so it's not made in the Instant Pot. And I've got to experiment a little bit with it because when you're doing something like for a risotto, you definitely want it chewier. I probably would use a little bit less liquid, but I'll try and get a recipe up for an Instant Pot steel cut oat risotto soon, so that way you guys can try it. Chelsea says, I prefer sweet. I also use half water and half milk to add to the creaminess, but to keep it low fat. Interesting. I like that. Typically, when I slow cook my steel cut oats, I almost always use all non-dairy milk. And part of the reason is, especially with the coconut milk, has enough fat in it, and again, we're talking about the carton kind, that it kind of helps things to not stick as much to the outside. You don't really have to worry about that with your Instant Pot. It's going to be fine. If you get some stuck in your Instant Pot, just soak it. Soak it for a few hours, and then it's going to come right up. So don't be scared. Also, this recipe where I'm cooking 2 servings, I can cook that in the 3-quart or the 6-quart, and it works just as well. Now, some of the new 6-quart ultras tend to throw a burn message faster than the old ones. I have not tried it in a 6-quart ultra just because I don't have one. But know that if you're starting to get a burn message on something like that, that could be part of the problem. Oh, and Kevin says sounds delicious. He'll have to try it. I like that idea. I'm thinking how delicious my oatmeal is going to be today for lunch. And so I can't think, do you guys have any other questions? Okay, Kelly says she adds the banana or some date sugar and sweeteners, and she hasn't done savory oatmeal. Now, and here's the thing with savory oatmeal. It doesn't sound appealing a lot of times because you're thinking of the oatmeal that you grew up with that really is kind of like porridge gruel-like that came out of the packets, right? And so it doesn't really have any texture to it. It's just kind of mush. When we're talking about steel cut oats, they are more like a grain that you think of in a savory way. And it's going to have that toothsomeness that I think is really important when you're having something that's kind of like this, and then having some kind of like lightly cooked veggies that are kind of crunchy or have at least in some different flavors. But I'll try and get some more oatmeal recipes up on Plant-Based Instant Pot because I do love my oatmeal and I just haven't cooked as much of it in the Instant Pot. Can you guys think of any questions you have for me? The only other thing I wanted to say is a public service announcement is if you have the Ultimate Vegan Cookbook for your Instant Pot, when I wrote that book, there were only 6-quart Instant Pots. And so what I found is that every once in a while, someone who has an 8-quart will get a burn notice on something. So you need to look and make sure you have enough water in the size pot that's going to bring it up to pressure. And that's going to be a help. You may also need to double some things. Like I would not cook a half a cup of steel cut oats with a cup and a half of water in an 8-quart Instant Pot. I would expect it to burn. So if you guys are doing that and it's not burning, let me know. But I think it's better safe than sorry. And Brandy likes apple and cinnamon, cardamom and pear. Yeah, I have a cardamom pear one on, where do I have that one? I don't know if it's on the blogs or not, but it's in the Instant Pot book. And Chelsea says she has a 3-quart Instant Pot and can only eat about half a cup of oats at any time. Will that be enough to make in the 3-quart? Oh yeah, I make this, I make a half a cup of dry oats with a cup and a half of water. This Instant Pot in front of me was a 3-quart today. I made it yesterday in a 6-quart and a 3-quart because I was doing it to take pictures. As long as you have the minimum amount of water required to come up to pressure, it should. Now, when we're talking about something thick like this, and this goes with split pea soup too. So I have a recipe for split pea soup with sweet potatoes and navy beans. My navy beans weren't cooked enough. The split peas and everything else had gotten real mushy, so I was going to try and put it back on pressure cook. Well, immediately it just gave me a burn notice because it's heavy. It's going to stick near the bottom. I'm not sure you could put enough extra water in it at that point to make the pressure go up. But what I ended up doing is what I told you guys to do, is then put it to saute, add some water, pretend like it's on the stove, and how you would take care of it there. That's only with thick things that are going to, at this point now, be really heavy and at the bottom. If we're looking at like a pot of beans, let's say you're cooking a pound of beans, I often will go in and go, these aren't quite ready enough, add a little more water and it'll come back up to pressure, because unless you're cooking something like split peas or red lentils or something that totally turns mushy, if you're cooking something like pinto beans or black beans, you have that leeway to do that. Colleen said, I just joined the discussion late. Did you talk about soaking these as you would with other grains? I did not, because I don't soak mine. Now, if you soak yours, it probably would change the amount of water that you need to use. So I would probably guess, and Colleen, if you have a way that you've been doing it, will you share that with us since you've been soaking your grains? And I soak oat groats. I don't soak steel cut oats unless I'm getting ready to blend them and make something like oat milk with them. But if you soak them, what happens, and just like with beans, it's taking in some of that water, which means it's not going to absorb as much once you start cooking. So you're going to use a little bit less. Now, I would probably use half a cup of oats and then maybe start at 1 1/4 cup of water. I might cut it down 1/4 and then you might need to cut it down 1/2 cup. But just because I'm not sure exactly how much it's going to absorb. Also, when you're soaking those grains and you drain them, it still has some liquid on them as well. So that's going to affect it a little bit too. I'll see what I can do and see if I can't soak some and see what I think I would change after that. And if you cook oat groats, there's a special setting on some Instant Pots that are like a long cooking multi-grain setting that kind of soaks it for you in warm water, then goes ahead and cooks it. So you could look at doing something with that cycle as well. But if you're used to soaking your grains and you soak them all the time and you don't leave them and let them get moldy like I do, then keep doing it the way you're doing it and maybe just change the water a bit. It could also be that you like yours a little bit creamier, right? So that's going to give you some soak. When you soak it, it's going to add the water. Maybe you'll still keep the water the same because you want it to be that much more creamy. And again, it's kind of what we've been talking about most of today is how do you like your oats? And little adjustments that you can make to make a recipe be your recipe and work the way you need it to work. And I'm not seeing Colleen talk, so I'm not sure if she has made them after she soaked in the Instant Pot, but I will definitely get back to you guys with that. I'll probably try and make another batch tomorrow. I have a couple of batches in the fridge right now too. Oh, Brandy said she forgets about things she's soaking. Yeah, I'm the worst. Because a lot of times when I'm soaking something, if I'm working on a cookbook or a bunch of posts, I'll be working on a bunch of different recipes at the same time. And I think we were having this talk about soaking beans somewhere today on Facebook. So when you soak beans or you're soaking grains, if it's hot, you want to do that in your fridge to make sure they don't sprout or go sour. If you only soak the amount of time you're supposed to and you don't forget them, you probably won't have any of those problems. Okay, Kalina's never made steel-cut oats. For rice and quinoa, I either do a quick soak with hot water or do a longer soak. A longer soak at room temperature. I do have the issue of guessing how much less water to use in a recipe, though. Yeah, and it's always okay. And it's one of those things, like with oatmeal, you can kind of get it a little bit too creamy, and it's okay. So if you had a little extra water, also, okay, let's say you decide to soak your oats. You do it exactly how I say it in the recipe. At the end, if it's too watery for you, then you would just cancel the warm setting, go to saute on a low heat if you can get it, and just saute until that's out. You know, you're going to need to stand there while it's happening, though. And Chelsea says, another question for me. Yay, I love questions. I tend to use rolled old-fashioned oats rather than steel cut. I've never made them in the Instant Pot. What would my general recipe be for that? And in the beginning, I was saying basically we're not talking about rolled oats at all today because they're a little bit of a different animal. And I'm working on some directions for in the Instant Pot. The way I've cooked them in the past is I've actually cooked them in ramekins and cooked them on the rack that comes with your Instant Pot. Because what can happen, because it's going to break down so much, is it can get, I'm afraid it can get to the burn notice a little bit too fast when it's not really helpful. So I'm going to try a couple of different things with that. So I will be back with you on that, and I am going to try and soak some steel-cut oats and see what happens too. And I forgot about cashew soaking. Oh yeah, Anita says, I've forgotten about so many cashews soaking that I am more likely now to soak my cashews right in my Vitamix or a mixer that I'm going to use, because that way I'll look over to the mixer and remember that I need to do something with them. Oftentimes too, if you have a super powerful blender, you can get away with just not soaking your cashews as long as it tells you to. And Chelsea said, Oh, oops, okay, I tuned in a little bit late, so thanks, I'm touching the rolled oats. No, and the only reason, if I had an exact answer for you right now, I totally would tell you. But since I'm kind of experimenting with it, I did a little research and I went out on the web and looked how different people were making rolled oats. And they're really different, which doesn't surprise me because, again, oats evidently is a touchy American subject. We like them the way we like them. But it did seem that you would use a significant amount of water more. Now, with this, so let's say you have an 8-quart slow cooker and you want to make 2 servings. And this would also go for rolled oats as well. You could mix that stuff like in a Pyrex bowl or container that fits inside your Instant Pot. You would put about a cup of water, somewhere about there, cup to cup and a half, depending on how large, because I think Go Wise even has a 12-quart Instant Pot or multi-cooker. So then you would close it and you would cook it a little bit longer. So if I was doing steel-cut oats, I probably would start at 6 to 7 minutes, because since it's away from the heat source a little bit, it's going to take longer for it to cook. But that would be my number one. If you had rolled oats right now and you wanted to cook them, I would go ahead and probably use a little bit less water than you typically use on the stovetop. Put it in a bowl, and you wouldn't even really need to cover it because it's just going to get a little bit of condensation in there unless you want it to have kind of like a crisp top or something. Let's see what we got. We've got lots of questions, but isn't sprouting good? Laugh out loud. I think sprouting can be good, but I think you do kind of have to be sprouting intentionally. So, and I don't know about you guys, if it's been in the water long enough to sprout, a lot of times it smells funny to me. So that's one of the reasons I avoid it. But yeah, again, I would not tell you not to sprout your grains because I buy sprouted grain flour and things like that. I just haven't done a lot of it myself. And let's see. Oat groats. Okay, wait. We're cooking for 0 minutes. Yes. Okay. So Brandy was saying with rolled oats, could you cook for 0 minutes? And you absolutely can. And we've talked about this on other lives. So cooking something for 0 minutes sounds like crazy talk. But what happens is as the Instant Pot is going up to pressure to when it starts timing its cook, that's cooking time, right? Have you ever put a piece of pizza or something to warm up in your oven while it's preheating, right? And you notice it cooks some until it gets to that temperature, right? It doesn't just magically do nothing. And then also with natural pressure release, you're having it cook for X amount of time, then the natural pressure release cooks too. And that's why if you want to do a quick release instead of a natural pressure release, you might need to cook it a little longer. But yeah, you could try cooking it for 0 minutes. I'm still not sure of the amount of water that would be needed to make it work out perfectly though. So I would be more likely, for right now, I'm going to recommend with the rolled oats that you cook it in a pot and pot situation. And remember, whenever you're using something with your Instant Pot, it has to have, if you're using the pressure cooker function, it has to have enough water to get up to pressure. So if we're not cooking something inside the liner, the stainless steel bowl, we have to put water and then a rack and then our thing. You can cover it with aluminum foil. You could cover, if you don't like aluminum foil touching your food, you can also do parchment paper and then cover that with aluminum foil. You cannot just use parchment paper because it could break apart and get stuck in some of these little guys, and that would be a big problem. So that's one workaround. Okay, and somebody else wants a rolled oat video. Okay, I swear I will do one. And oat groats, it is different because it's going to be a different cooking time and a different amount of water. I do talk about those in the Ultimate Vegan Cookbook for your Instant Pot. And if there's enough interest, we can do something with oat groats. I'll put that down too, that I'll start working on some rolled oat things and some oat groats. I don't think I have any right now, so I might have to wait till I can get some from Amazon. Does anybody else have any non-rolled oat questions that I can take care of before we finish up? And also, I'm curious if you guys want to leave comments later about why you like rolled oats more than steel cut oats. Like, is it a texture thing? Is it just what happens to be in your pantry? Is it because they're cheaper? And now I have to do gluten-free oats. So gluten-free rolled oats aren't that much more expensive now. Because I can't go and get like store brand whatever because they're not usually gluten-free. Oh, Chelsea, don't worry. She said, sorry, I started the rolled oats train on the steel cut oats live stream. I knew it was going to happen, which is why I said it from the beginning. But no, and I am curious about, is there a reason that someone prefers oat groats over steel cut oats over rolled oats? And I use all the oats. And one of the things I like about rolled oats is you can make a really, really quick oat milk. So maybe what we'll do is we'll do rolled oats in the Instant Pot, and I'll show you how to make a quick and easy oat milk too. Because I like, especially in the winter, if you live in a place where the weather gets bad, you can, if you run out of your normal non-dairy milk, you can make it in minutes. And it's really, really easy and very inexpensive. It doesn't last as long as the other milks, though. And Yvette says it's texture for her. And I'm trying to remember, Yvette, did you mention, Yvette, which kind of oats were the ones that you liked? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble seeing everything all at once. And Dawn says she likes the texture better for rolled oats. Yeah, and she blends them a lot for flour, because I also encourage you, unless oat flour is on sale and cheap, and especially if you don't have to buy gluten-free rolled oats, you can make oat flour so ridiculously cheap. Now, and when you hear me talk about the gluten-free, and if you're not gluten-free but you have a friend that is, it's nice to know, oats are gluten-free. However, when they're picked and transported and all that stuff, they actually get cross-contaminated. And they're often cross-contaminated on the manufacturing lines. So like someone like Bob's Red Mill has a whole different building and processing plant for gluten-free grains, which makes it really awesome. Okay, and Yvette likes rolled oats for the texture. Dawn likes rolled oats for the texture. Oh, and Chelsea, yeah, I like steel cut oats. I don't know why. I like that it has a little more of a chewy texture to it sometimes. I like both, really. I do find that savory rolled oats are not as appealing to me as savory steel cut oats. I think it's just a little too mushy for me, because even when you're talking polenta, and polenta is pretty mushy, it still has some of that texture that I don't necessarily feel as much in rolled oats. Oh, Dawn, you failed your oat milk. What? You have to tell me what happened. And you guys know that join me in my free private Facebook group, Vegan Recipes, Cooking with Kathy Hester. I jump in a few times a day to check on things whenever I can. I might miss a day or two, but if you have a question or you're making something, I might be able to help you. So you guys go ahead and try and join in there. And Liz says rolled oats are more available, but she's going to try steel cut oats. And let's see. And Brandy says, I think traditionally rolled oats have been easier and tastier to make than steel cut. And it's a different mindset. It really is. And it's kind of mind-blowing. It blew my mind when I started writing Outrageous Oatmeals about how different all these things are, and it comes from one thing. So like we talked, an oat groat would be the steel-cut oats before they got chopped into 2 to 3 pieces, right? Well, rolled oats is a whole oat groat that gets steamed and literally rolled. So it's interesting how much can be made from that inexpensive tiny little plant. Yeah, and Chelsea says she can't imagine savory rolled oats either. And I also would say do not try to make savory oats of any kind in your slow cooker. That's my stance. Like if you're going to make a congee, that's a little different because congee kind of ends up being like porridge mush. And on Plant-Based Instant Pot, actually, I just did a mushroom congee, which uses rice typically, and that particular recipe does. And you're using the slow cooker function on your Instant Pot. And if you're doing that, it's supposed to end up being that texture. But other than that, I wouldn't even do steel cut oats in the slow cooker for a savory dish. And have I ever cooked oat groats? Yes, I have. I haven't cooked them in a while, and I have not cooked them in my Instant Pot, which is why I'm shying away from giving any direct instructions. But what I promise you today, I solemnly swear that I will be doing another live on rolled oats, and I'll do one on oat groats, hopefully within the next 6 weeks. If I can I don't think I can get oat groats to do it quick enough, but I'll try and do maybe rolled oats next week, and I'll try and get a rolled oat Instant Pot recipe up on Plant-Based Instant Pot for you too. And if you have some things that you want to comment or suggestions for other people who are making steel cut oats in their Instant Pot, go to Plant-Based Instant Pot and write comments on that post. I would love it. I would love it for you guys to share your experiences because we're all in this together, right? And Olivia has a question. Do you do stuff with the air fryer? Why, yes, I do. And if you go to healthy, I'm trying to think what's the easiest way. I have so many places that you could go. There's a Facebook group called Healthy Slow Cooking. Though it says slow cooking, it does everything. So I do air fryer. I have some air fryer videos there. I also have uploaded those to a YouTube channel. So if you look up Kathy Hester air fryer, you should find them. I think I have 3 or 4 of those. Oh, a nice apple crisp IP recipe. Yeah, I totally could do that. I could do that. I'm going to personally want to put it under the oven for like a few minutes before I serve it because I kind of like that crispy part of the top, but you could totally do that. Okay. And keep leaving comments. I'll come back and I'll hopefully answer any questions that I missed during the time that we've been doing this. Oh, thanks, Dawn. And Dawn actually just put, if you look and see where it says Zelda Dawn, she put the link to the Healthy Slow Cooking Facebook page. And so if you go there and you go to the left-hand side and you go to videos, you should be able to search and they should be named, or you should see an air fryer there. So I make homemade seitan in it. I've made a few things because my cookbook, Vegan Cooking in Your Air Fryer, came out a year ago. So maybe I should do another air fryer recipe to kind of celebrate that it's been out for a year. And if anybody else has some recipes they want to suggest for that or another live on anything, if you have questions, put them down there. I'll check it out. I do my best to get all these things done. So I'm hoping to see you on Tuesday again. Let's see. Okay, so Anita says she cooks oat groats in the Instant Pot and uses the same time and liquid as brown rice. And so that might be something to look in. And Jamie asked me, what are my feelings on oat groats? I don't have any like good or bad feelings. I'm kind of neutral. I think they're a great whole grain. Like I'm passionate about oats in general. I don't like that they're harder for me to find. That's what I don't like about them. And that's it. And it does take longer to cook them, so you have to plan it a little bit. Typically I soak them or I cook them on that long cycle that I was talking about. And so anyhow, so if I sound negative about them, I'm not at all. And I really recommend any whole grains that work for you. I wish steel cut oats were the same price as rolled oats. And I wish gluten-free oats were easy to find. And I think that sometimes when you find oat groats, it's even harder to find out if they're gluten-free. And again, I love eating them. They're pretty yummy. I like eating wheat berries. Well, I liked before I had to be gluten-free. I liked eating wheat berries and whole spelt cooked. And I think of oat groats as being in that same kind of category. It's super hearty. They're pretty awesome in the winter. They're very filling. You can also cook them and kind of use them on salads and things like that as well to add some heartiness and to fill you up. Oat groats are going to be, all oat things are going to have a slimy element to them that either we work out of it one way or the other. And so if we were doing wheat berries for salad versus oat groats for salad, I'd probably have to rinse the oat groats after cooking a little bit just to kind of make that kind of gooey stuff go away. But that gooey stuff also can help us because you can make oat milk yogurt. And that's in my book, Outrageous Oatmeals. It's not in the Instant Pot. Let's see what we got. You guys are being awesome and asking all the best questions. I love this. Okay, so I got my feelings on that. And okay, Olivia just got an air fryer for Christmas and she wants to learn it. And I do have a cookbook on it. I also have some video classes, some online classes that you can go and watch. I think I have 2 of them. And I think it's Kathy-Hester.teachable.com. And then you have to go to all courses. Once you get to that page, it's only going to show you like 3 courses. And then there'll be a button to click for all courses. And I have about 10. Also, not this weekend, but the next 2 weekends after that, I'm going to be doing I'm starting back on my online classes. And so you can attend live while I'm filming, or you can take it anytime you want after that. So that's totally up to you. So I'm going to be doing a winter soup class, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. And that's over on, the information is on Plant-Based Instant Pot as well. And then the week after that, I'm going to redo my very first class that was Start Cooking in Your Instant Pot, part 1, because we hadn't had our video set up quite as good. And if you took that class, you should have received a special email from me with a super discount. And if you're new, you just get to benefit from the better filming, and hopefully it's a better class. And you can come and ask any questions you want. My classes typically are $35 each. It's a 2 to 3 hour class, and we do 4 to 5 recipes. And let's see what... Do I have any planned new cookbooks for 2019? Big pause. I have a conversation coming up later this week that could turn into a book. So I'll leave it at that for now. If that doesn't turn into a book, then I may do some like 1 or 2 smaller SOS self-published cookbooks. So like things that are healthier, plant-based. But I'll let you know. You guys will be the first to know. I wouldn't announce anything like that unless I have a contract, if I'm doing it with a traditional publisher though. So fingers crossed, you might know something in a couple of weeks. And let's see here. Brady was saying for air fryer recipes, start out with my sites. And again, and actually Brandy says she's made a lot of recipes for my book. Brandy has tested for my cookbook. So Brandy has been there in the trenches when we were trying to figure things out. So Brandy is a great person to ask about a lot of things. So she's very good at what she does. And she has a great plant-based Instant Pot Facebook group that I cannot think of the name, except for there's vegan and Instant Pot, I think, or plant-based and Instant Pot. So Brandy, will you go ahead and put your Facebook group link in the comments so that people can go and visit you as well? And, oh, Anita's saying do a quick and easy cookbook. Do you have I have the Easy Vegan Cookbook. Ta-da! And it is really easy. There's lots of stir fries and one-pot meals and different things like that. And that's a really good book. It's great for beginners, and it's great for people who don't have a lot of time and don't have time to learn appliances or deal with them. There's a few, I think there's probably a few slow cooker options, but everything has a stovetop or an oven option in the Easy Vegan Cookbook. And Dawn wants to know if you can substitute oat groats for wheat berries in most recipes. Or is it the sliminess a thing that would prevent it? I would say the sliminess could be a thing that might prevent it. It's not impossible though, so if you tell me a recipe that you're thinking about doing it, then let me look at it and see what I can figure out. Because like I said, it has been a while since I've cooked with oat groats. And because I have an oat groat chili that I made, and I liked this. I know sliminess is really not a nice food word, but it's kind of like okra. If you ever cook okra and you know it gets slimy, well, that's what makes gumbo. It helps gumbo be thicker, or some of the other, or like a really lovely, okra curry gets that wonderful texture because it has that extra stuff to pull it together. So I think that you can use oat groats for the power of slimy goodness. And they're perfect in soups and stews for that, to thicken things up a little bit. And I'm just wondering if you wanted to do something that was a casserole or something like that, I'd have to look at it and see what I think. Anita's going to check and see if she has the Easy Vegan. And if not, there's some recipes from the Easy Vegan on healthyslowcooking.com. And for any of you who don't have my cookbooks, you can get free recipes on both my blogs, healthyslowcooking.com, plantbasedinstantbot.com. And if you go to Amazon, and this is for most cookbooks, so just so you know, if you go to the paperback part and you go to look in the book, some books don't have the look in the book feature. But if you go on paperback to look in the book, you will see the table of contents and often some different sections throughout the book. You'll see more than in Kindle. Kindle just usually gives you the intro and doesn't even give you a table of contents when you do Kindle look in the book. How many cups of steel-cut oats can you make at a time? That sounds like a challenge to me. So with this 3-quart, it was about halfway full to do this, it looks like. I'll have to get back to you on that one. But I would think kind of a lot. So I've not actually pushed the envelope in the 6-quart to the limit. There is a little line on your Instant Pot, and you want to make sure that the water and the oats are a little bit below that. But that would be your main guide right there. You wouldn't change the cooking time. You would just up the oats and up the water. And Brandy's laughing now at my weird challenge. I'm like, there's just 2 of us. I don't think I can cook 8 cups of steel-cut oats. But you can cook large batches of steel-cut oats and freeze them in portions, sizes as well. I tend to just cook a couple at a time, and right now this is 5 and 6 servings, so this was a lot of oatmeal happening here in the past 2 days. Okay guys, well, it's been awesome spending time with you, and the time has just flown by. I thought this was going to be like a 10-minute in and out Facebook Live, but I'm glad you guys had questions because I really do love answering your questions. Oh, and Brandy was thinking of making enough for 4 days. And you're a 3-person household, Brandy? Is that right? So let's say you make 1 cup. Do you have a 6-quart or an 8-quart Instant Pot? And anyhow, I'll get back with Brandy about this. And Liz is saying, I did a wonderful book on beans. Thank you. Would love one updated to Instant Pot use. And I think that's a fairly valid request. I will say that, and actually I can show you. In the Instant Pot book, I do have a whole chapter on beans. The dogs are getting restless. So, and there's like cooking charts and things like that. But I'm working on a couple of bean recipes right now, and I think the little ones are going to have a fit any second now. So keep asking questions. 3 people. And Brandy, I'll get back to you on your oatmeal dilemma. I'm going to look into getting some oat groats when I get off of here, and then I'm going to try and start planning what I'm going to make for next week. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you coming here and supporting me and going to the blog or joining my Facebook group. It means a lot to me. And if there's any way that I can help you or any questions I can answer, I'm happy to. I don't know everything. So sometimes you might ask me something, I might have to go away for a week or 2 and then come back and answer it. Or I might send you to someone else who knows the answer. But have a great rest of your week. Leave me a comment about some other things you'd like to see me make. If anybody would like to come babysit the dogs while I'm doing one of these, that would be awesome. But have a great time. Make some steel-cut oats if you haven't had them yet, and just give them a go, okay? And I will talk to you next week.